All right, welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the noise pollution project. Um, so the objectives really for this project was to be able to understand and list the causes of noise pollution, describe the effects um, of noise pollution on people and wildlife, and then be able to describe some ways to help prevent noise pollution. So before we really get into that, let's talk a little bit about some of the introductory information. So we live really in a very busy society, and we're constantly connected in terms of technology. Okay, so think about if you had to listen to noise all day long. Okay, excessively loud, irritating, persistent noise, whether it be someone's loud music, the sound of horns honking, the sound of industry doing doing what it does every day. Excuse me. So, what are the causes? What are the effects? And what does that have on your lifestyle? Okay. Um, when you hear it, noise pollution can really be disruptive to a lifestyle. So, you know, think about the health effects. Okay, um, were you ever able to not be able to go to sleep at night because you couldn't concentrate on a reading activity because of noises around you? Or maybe it's just an annoying noise that drives you crazy. Okay. Um, Research suggests that in its most extreme cases, hearing loss can be a direct result of noise pollution. Okay, and our government agency, the EPA, the United Nations, and the World Health Organization all recognize that noise pollution um, can have various effects on our health, and those effects can be hearing impairment, can be disruption of communication, not being able to sleep, having sleep disturbances, cardiovascular problems such as high blood pressure, um, you know, disturbances in our mental health like stress and anxiety and headaches. And what they also have, you can also have impaired task performance. Okay, there are studies that show that individuals in the school setting have a lower rate of reading ability that live to areas that are close to roadway traffic or noise. Okay, so when you look at some of those causes, it becomes very important to realize that noise pollution is a problem. Okay, um, we live in a very urban area. The East Coast is very congested. Road traffic and road noise is the number one cause of environmental noise pollution um, worldwide. Okay, it's the collective sound of energy that's directly results from motor vehicles, tires, brakes, and engines. Um, and you've probably noticed that your car radio is much easier to hear if you travel in vehicles at speeds at low speeds as compared to those that are above 55 miles an hour. And when you think about it, in the areas that we live here in southeastern Pennsylvania, it's loaded with highways. Okay, so you need to think about that from the perspective of the effects of noise pollution. Okay, aircraft noise. Those of you living down in the Philly area, you live in a very busy major metropolitan airport. Aircraft noise is the second leading cause of noise pollution out there. Aircraft noise can affect people many miles away from the airport, not just ones that live around it, but as air traffic comes in. I know my house is in the Philadelphia flight path, and we have a lot of planes that fly overhead, and it's very annoying sometimes. Okay, so how does noise pollution also have an effect on wildlife. Because remember, this course is about being stewards to the planet. Animals depend on sounds to avoid predators, to obtain food and communication. So this chronic exposure to noise can lead to hearing loss in animals, just like humans. It can frighten them, and it can help increase urbanization, and cut down on wildlife dependent sites. So, how do you control noise pollution? Okay. There's a whole slideshow in your lesson that talks about ways to combat noise pollution. Okay. So, the two main ways are noise mitigation technology and obviously legislation. Okay. In 1972, our Congress passed the Noise Control Act, stating that Americans have the right to live without the threat of damaging noise. However, there's very little funding that supports legislation, so noise pollution is not strictly enforced at the federal level. So um, we need to continue to put pressure on our government to help enforce that and put those limitations in place, so that it can be kept at a minimum, and not impact our lifestyle. So with that, let's go over and talk a little bit about the project. So, in the past few years, there have been several bills introduced that deal with noise pollution. Okay, and several lawmakers want to make stricter laws at the national level to help reduce noise pollution. So, the goal of this assignment is really for you to compose a letter to one of your state's representatives, and what you'll have to do is you'll go onto the internet, find your representative that you're responsible to, depending on which district you live in, and persuade your lawmaker that noise pollution should be controlled more strictly, and be sure to address these points. Okay, so in your letter, here's what you want to do. You want to introduce yourself. You want to talk about what is noise pollution and where it comes from. So, a brief recap of what we've talked about. You want to explain how noise pollution can harm people based on what the research in your lesson shows. Explain how noise pollution can harm wildlife, again, using the information supported from your lesson. And then the last part of this is explain how you think national noise pollution laws could work. So, this is really more of an opinion portion of your letter. So the way I would set this letter up is I would set it up as a 3-paragraph essay. Okay. In the first paragraph is your introduction and what is noise pollution and where it comes from. In your second paragraph, explain how noise pollution can harm both people and how it impacts wildlife. Okay. And then the final paragraph is explain how you think noise pollution laws could work if they were put into place. Okay. So again, use the information that you found in the lesson, and persuade lawmakers how you think they could be beneficial to you and to wildlife. Okay. You want to take a side in this argument. You want to make sure that your argument is strong, and that it's logical and it's clear. And remember, as you draft a letter like this, because as this is something that you'll do down the road, inevitably, especially when you become, homeowners, and trying to start a family on your own, you want to make sure that you're able to convey clear messages, in a respectful tone to those individuals that you're putting in office. So with that, you can submit it on a Word document, or you can submit it below. It's entirely up to you. If you get stuck on how to articulate something, I certainly would encourage you to come into the VO, and we can help hone that a little bit more. And as we move towards the end, we're going to be back here next week doing another project. So have a great week, everybody.